For a reflection on the telepathy tapes. There has been a lot of excitement about them from folks who believe in telepathy and are excited about what this is giving us the opportunity to explore. There's also been very valid criticism. I can appreciate both perspectives as a person who has regularly experienced telepathy and has informal self diagnosis of autism. Um, I am I have experienced both with other autistic people and with myself um, easier access to psychic abilities than I have outside of the autistic community. Uh, and the telepathy tapes highlights communicators who use both facilitated communication and other forms of AAC. Facilitated communication is been determined to be unethical and in many cases abusive. When studied widely, facilitated communication is basically where a facilitator supports the communicator by touching a part of their body, typically their hand or arm or elbow, to prompt them to choose letters on a board. There have been several high profile abuse cases where really unethical shit went down with facilitators who most of the situations were unintentional. They were unintentionally guiding these communicators to communicate things that were in the facilitator's head, not in the communicator's head. And that doesn't mean that there's not some facilitated communication that is supporting the individuals. And really, all AAC, augmentative communication, is at the beginning facilitated because you have to teach someone how to use it. So my training formally is in a field called communication sciences and disorders, which you can tell by the name of it. It is inherently ableist because it is determining differences in communications to be disordered communication. The field supports people in pursuing the profession of speech language pathologist, which I am a certified speech language pathologist, and you can again see in the title pathologist is pathologizing differences in communication. So the field is flawed inherently. And my specialization was in working with autistic communicators, specifically in supporting alternative and augmentative communication. So the bulk of my experience as a speech language pathologist was with nonverbal autistic kids. And I've worked with dozens of kids and supported them and trained them in the use of AAC and then seen kids go on to be independent communicators. I have experienced telepathy with these kids as I have experienced telepathy with extraterrestrials and my own child and lots of other humans. Telepathy is a part of my life and not exclusive to people with autism. I don't know if telepathy is a part of my life because I'm autistic, but I know that telepathy is a part of loads of people's lives who aren't necessarily autistic. So I don't think that these tapes should be totally discounted because they are highlighting some kids who use facilitated communication. But I think that we should take it with a grain of salt and be careful not to encourage families towards facilitated communication. It can be confusing to tell the difference because all AAC is facilitated at first. You start with prompts to teach and support. But it is typically taught through labeling. So you're going to, for example, put an apple in front of a kid and then guide their finger to the icon on the device that shows an apple or to the letters that spell out apple. So you're not prompting them to have independent thoughts. You're prompting them to learn language. so that they can then use language to form independent thoughts. That's a big difference between FC and AAC. With FC, you may be prompting them before teaching any language to have like in-depth dialogues and conversations about topics that the individual has not been exposed to educationally. In the telepathy tapes, they claim that these speakers have learned through telepathy and through just hanging around all of this information. That's why they can form and spell, essays, which may be the case. I am not saying that is necessarily not true, but I am just saying we want to be careful to not encourage facilitated communication through the celebration of these telepathy tapes, and to maintain a caution around over like swinging to the opposite direction of, an ableist perspective can be that we are diminishing someone by not seeing that they can be a communicator and that they can be educated. We also want to be careful not to over fetishize or exotify, I don't know what word that is, but make exotic or make it like autistic people are magical beings. We want to be careful not to do that. We are all humans. We're all magical, I believe. Everyone has different access to psychic abilities in different measures given their life experience and who knows what other factors. We're all special. We don't want to make anybody more special than anybody just because of the way that they present or communicate or function in the world. We want to be careful of over making it like certain people are over special than others, and that can also be a way to separate someone from the group, right? You're different than me. It's like we don't want to swing in either direction of making anyone too different or too special or too other. But to recognize that telepathy exists by experiencing it with folks where it has become more necessary is a valid way to recognize, loads of people communicate via telepathy, especially people who spend a lot of time together, like moms and their kids. And we know that we share cells between biological parents and kids. The pregnant person shares cells with the baby that comes from that pregnancy. So there's all sorts of things that we don't we know that moms have been recorded as knowing when their kids get hurt. I did a thing early on with my kid called elimination communication, where you learn how to sense when your kid needs to go to the bathroom and they don't wear diapers. And it worked. My kid never wore diapers because I could tell when he had to go to the bathroom, and then I would put him on a potty at 2 months old. And I taught my kid sign language, and my kid communicated with me from 3 months forward via sign language. So there's loads of things that we don't understand, and I think this is a good opportunity for people to expand their ideas about what's possible. And I would just encourage folks to be cautious and explore for yourself, and be careful about facilitated communication, because it can go sideways very easily. And training language through AAC is moving people towards independent communication, which I understand that independent is a tricky word. So I want to say that's why it's augmented, instead of facilitated. You hear the difference? Facilitated has a I'm guiding you, versus augmented, you're being supported, right? If I want to have a brace on my hand or something to steady my motor control while I'm communicating, that's different than having a person um, nudge your arm towards letters. So it's tricky and it's nuanced, and I would encourage folks to not discount the entire telepathy tapes because they included folks who use facilitated communication, but also to not celebrate facilitated communication just because some of the telepathy tapes had that aspect. And just do your own research, and also, ask questions around, like, are we making it like autistic people are like special and better? And let's be careful of that because that's not good for anybody. Okay, just a few thoughts. Lots of love.